Hello everyone, this is Daniel Ailes with Our Way Music Studio, and in this video we're going to go over the Texas State Theory Test Level 4, questions 1 and 2. So let's get started. In question 1, it states that on the grand staff below, arrows point to each part of the grand staff. Label each part by writing the number of the term in the box for each indicated staff part. This is very simple. All you have to do is figure out where the box is pointing to. In this case, the first box is pointing directly to the treble clef. So we look over here in our terms box, we see treble clef, and all we have to do is write a 4 right here. Alright, so that's the treble clef. Some students get confused with the second box right here. It's pointing to this right here, and this is called the brace. So if we look over here in our term box, we have the brace as number 3. Okay? So, number 3. This one is pointing to the bass clef, so let's take a look over here. The bass clef is number 2. So, we just write a number 2 in right here. And the next box would be pointing to a bar line right here. So, bar line is number 1, and we put a number 1 right here. And the last but not least is pointing to the double bar line. Number 5 goes right there. It's as simple as that. That's 5 points down, only 95 or 96 including the bonus question at the end to go. Alright, number 2. It says, on the staff below, draw the notes or rests named below each measure on the correct line or space. Look at the clef sign. Remember the stem rules. Okay, so let's talk about rests first. I'm just going to use this space right here to talk about different types of rests. Now, we have 4 different types of rests that you should know. The first one you should know is the 8th rest. I'm going to go from smallest to biggest. The 8th rest looks like this. That's all it is. Let's do that again. All you have to do is draw a dot and line number or space number 3, and then draw a little 7. Don't touch the top line and don't touch the bottom line. Just draw the 7 and the dot. Okay, that's the 8th rest. Let's see here. 8th. So that's the, we'll just call it the 8th rest. Alright, and then we have the quarter rest, which I'll put a little 1/4 right here for a quarter. The quarter rest is drawn in between the top line and bottom line. We don't touch those lines, but it looks like this. We do a little zigzag, and then we do a little half circle. That's all there is to it. Once again, zigzag, half circle. That's all there is to it. Remember, a quarter rest gets 1 beat. An 8th rest gets half a beat. Okay, now we're going to double the quarter rest, and we're going to go to the half rest. The half rest sits on line number 3. 1, 2, 3. So here, we draw just a little rectangle, fill it in, and then you have your half rest. That's 2 beats. And the whole rest is drawn on line number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we just draw the same little box like the half rest, and then we fill it in. And there's our whole rest. So, from smallest to largest, the 8th rest gets half a beat. The quarter rest gets 1 beat. The half rest gets 2 beats. And the whole rest gets 4 beats. Okay? So I hope that helps you. Now, let's figure out the rests that they want us to draw. It says whole rest. So remember, the whole rest hangs down from line number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. Just draw a little rectangle and fill it in. You'll probably be able to do this much easier on paper than I can on iPad. Alright, moving on to the next one. Quarter rest. Quarter rest, remember, we take the dot, we place it right there in the 3rd space, and we draw a little 7. That's all there is to it. You probably don't even need to make the stem that long. You can probably just do about like that. So, oh, I'm sorry, I drew an 8th rest. I'm so sorry. Quarter rest. That's the zigzag. A little lightning bolt. And then a half moon. Alright, there it is. That's the quarter rest. It gets 1 beat. Alright, half note on A. First, let's go over the different types of notes. So I'm going to use this to demonstrate the different types of notes. The first one I'm going to do is the smallest one that you should know. It's the eighth note. Okay? Eighth note. Fill it in. That's an eighth note. When we have two eighth notes together, or two or more eighth notes together, we can do this. And there. We have something called a beam. Remember that? There's a beam. Make sure you fill in your eighth notes. This is a single eighth note. And a single eighth note always has a flag on it. If it didn't have the flag, it would be a quarter note. But since it has a flag, it's an eighth note. If we have two or more eighth notes next to each other, we can connect those flags, and it's called a beam. I can even add another eighth note right here, and just keep adding to it. Alright? So those are the eighth notes. Each one of these gets half a beat. So let's erase all this. Let's go over quarter notes. A quarter note looks like an eighth note. It's filled in. The only thing is that it doesn't have a flag. A quarter note gets one beat, right? Alright, let's do the next one. The half note. The half note looks like the quarter note, except it's not filled in. It's the white note. It gets two beats. Let's do the whole note. The whole note kind of looks like a half note, except there's no stem. It gets four beats. So from the whole note, we can draw the half note by just adding a stem. Now we have a half note. Then we can draw a quarter note by just filling it in. And then we can make an eighth note by just giving it a flag. It's that simple. So whole note gets 4, half note gets 2, quarter note gets 1, eighth note gets half of 1. And those are all your notes, all the notes that you should know. Now let's talk about the stem rule. I'm going to take this little red pen right here and I'm going to highlight the third line. You see that? Now I'm going to draw a whole bunch of circles, or a whole bunch of note heads. Here, 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 here. Alright, so I have a whole bunch of note heads. Now, the stem rule states that if the stem is going to go up, it has to go up on the right side of the note. Okay? If the stem is going to go down, it has to go down on the left side of the note. You understand? I can't have this. That doesn't work because the stem is going down, but it's on the wrong side. I can't have this. No Q's and no B's, because this one right here, looks like a flat sign. We don't want flat signs. We're trying to do notes. And also no lollipops. This won't count. That or this. That doesn't count. You can't put the stem in the middle. Alright, so it goes up on the right, down on the left. This is good, and this is good. Excuse me. Now, if the note head, the circle part of the note, is below the third line, which should be all of these right here, everything here, the stem is going to go up on the right side. Make sure your stems are long enough. If the note head is above the third line, the stem is going to go down on the right side. This one's not quite long enough. There. If the note is on the third line, then it can either go up or it can go down. It's your choice. Okay? You're not going to have two stems. Just pick a side, up or down. Alright, now here's the thing. What if I had all these as single eighth notes? So I'm going to fill it all in. These are all eighth notes now. Okay? Now remember, an eighth note has to have a flag. And flags always point to the right. Think of the wind is constantly blowing this way, okay? The wind is blowing this way, and the flags are always going to point towards the right, or they're going to point towards the end of the song. So, when we add the flag, just make sure it goes to the right. To the right. To the right. Even if the stem is going down, we're still going to make it go to the right. 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 Do you get it? Stems always, always, always go to the right. Alright, I think that's all the stem rules that you need to know for this. So, let's answer the question now. It says, draw a half note on A. Now, do you remember what clef we're in? After all that talking, you probably don't, so let's take a look real quick. We are in the treble clef. Okay, half note on A. Remember, in the treble clef, we say F, A, C, E. We spell face for the spaces. The lines are every good boy does fine. Those are the lines. So I need a half note on A. So second space, draw the circle first always, and then notice that the circle, the note head, is below the third line. So the stem has to go up. Since it's a half note, I don't need to add a flag, and I don't need to fill it in. So that's the answer. Alright, this one says eighth note on D. So D can be in two spots. It can either be, here's every good boy does fine. There's a D right here. Or this is E, and I can put the D right below E. I can put a D here, or I can put a D here. Both of these are perfectly acceptable. So, whoops, what just happened? Oh, let's go back. I don't know what just happened there. My iPad is on the fritz. Okay, so eighth note on D. There's two spots I can put it. I can put one here, or I can put one here. Whichever one you want to do. Now, it's not a whole note, so I need a stem. Here, since the note head is below the third line, the stem has to go up on the right. Here, since the note is above the third line, it needs to go down on the left. Alright, these are not half notes, so they have to be filled in. And it's an eighth note. An eighth note is the one with the flag, so I have to add a flag to it. The flags always point towards the right. And that should be all the questions that we're going to do in this video, questions 1 and 2. I'll do questions 3 and 4 in the next video. I will see you there, and just remember to keep studying.